Ishya Morasa.
And I'm Sachi Zalpuri, and we're juniors at Novi High School.
So, in the last year, we've realized that a lot of our peers have been struggling with their body image and how they perceive themselves. So, we realized we wanted to research more into what body image issues are and what body dysmorphia in particular is. So, what exactly is body dysmorphia? So, the acronym is BDD, which stands for Body Dysmorphic Disorder, and it describes a disabling preoccupation with perceived defects or flaws in appearance. It can affect all genders and it can make the sufferers excessively self conscious.
So, body dysmorphia affects about 0.7 to 2.3 of the general population. That's between 52 million and 179 million people. Body dysmorphic disorder is more common than disorders such as schizophrenia or anorexia nervosa. Body dysmorphic disorder affects 2.5 of women and 2.2 of men in the United States and affects people ages 5 through 80. And lastly, 67% of people affected by BDD show signs before 18 years old.
So, what is the difference between BDD, eating disorders, and anorexia? They're very commonly misplaced and confused as being the same thing. BDD specifically is a mental illness that involves an obsessive focus on a perceived flaw in your appearance, while eating disorders are a mental health condition that causes people to obsess about their weight and what they eat. And lastly, anorexia and disorders fall under the same category. People who have anorexia try to keep their weight as low as possible by not eating enough food or exercising too much or both. While eating disorders and anorexia are not direct causes of BDD, they can be um, symptoms of having it.
Okay, so through our research, we found that there are four main aspects of body image: perceptual, affective, cognitive, and behavioral. Perceptual is how you see your body, affective is how you feel about your body, cognitive is how you think about your body, and behavioral is the way you behave as a result of your perceptual, affective, and cognitive body image.
So, what causes BDD? We found three main reasons while researching what body dysmorphia was. The first being social media. And this might include someone constantly taking pictures and posting selfies and then constantly scrutinizing and criticizing them after. Social media can further worsen the symptoms of BDD. Secondly, abuse and bullying. Going through a traumatic experience, such as abuse or bullying, can cause you to develop a negative self image, which can lead you to have obsessions about your appearance. And lastly, genetics. Evidence suggests that BDD is more common in people whose family members also have BDD, but it's difficult to know whether symptoms such as believing that you're disfigured or frequent mirror checking are inherited from your parents' genes or just picked up from their behavior.
All right, so there are three main symptoms of BDD. The first one being feelings of inadequacy, shame, and fear of ridicule. The second one being avoiding social activities regularly. And lastly, constantly comparing yourself from others and trying to hide your appearance.
So, we want to do a quick activity. So, let's take 1 minute and just list out our favorite people in our lives and what traits we like about them that are not physical and what we value about them. If you guys like have a piece of paper and just a pen, it'll only take up like a little piece of room. Whenever you guys are done, I guess just type it in the chat so that we can move on. Okay, I think that was enough time. If you want to keep typing in the chat, that's fine, but we're gonna move on to the second part of this activity, which is so since we've now listed traits about our favorite people in our lives and what we value about them, it's also important to value yourselves. So let's take a moment and reflect on ourselves and list at least 3 things that are not physical that you like about yourselves. So this can be things like your intelligence, your confidence, your bravery. Just make it not physical. And if you can private message this if you don't wanna send it out into the chat to everyone. Okay, we're gonna move on from the activity, so you guys can keep chatting and saying all of the things that you like about yourselves, but we don't wanna eat up too much time, so yeah. So now that we've talked about things that you can appreciate about yourselves, it's important to also know what to avoid saying to others when you're conversing. Firstly, you should avoid talking poorly about yourself. You may think that you're providing people with a comfort because you're showing that you're relating to them and that they struggle and you struggle too. But in reality, you're just feeding off of each other's negative energy and encouraging negative self talk. Secondly, you should always avoid commenting on someone's food intake. You never know what someone's going through, and it's never okay to comment on how much they're eating or how little they're eating. And lastly, you should avoid congratulating someone on changing the size or shape of their body. You don't know what situation they could be in and what led to the possible change.
Okay, so now that we've talked about that, here's some ways that you can help your friends. Firstly, you can always talk to a trusted adult if there are any concerns for your friend's safety. Also, you can comment on other people's personality instead of their appearance. It's always important to know your resources, and you can call the OWH hotline at any time at 1-800-994-9662.
And you should also know that you have resources available to help yourself. The first way to help yourself is to just know your triggers and what's triggering your compulsive behavior. And you should always try to seek support from friends, family, or just any trusted person in your life. Secondly, it's important to know your resources, like calling the OWH hotline or knowing if you need professional help or not. And this is if you notice you're feeling intense feelings of self hate and it's starting to get into your daily life and affecting all aspects of your life, it's important to seek these resources. And lastly, you can also join support groups and make sure that you don't feel isolated. And writing in a journal can also be helpful to reflect on your life.
Okay, so for our next activity, we're going to be working with affirmations. You're going to need a sheet of paper and a pen, but you can write it in the chat as well. This has proven to be an effective way to increase your well-being and the way you look at yourself. Using what you like about yourself, write down 10 affirmations. For example, I am brave or I am smart. So let's just take a second to do that. Okay, so now that you've hopefully done this, you're going to take this piece of paper with you and look at yourself in the mirror. And you're going to repeat these affirmations to yourself in the mirror every day. And again, this has proven to be a very effective way to increase your well-being.
Thank you so much for listening and participating in our activities. And yeah.
Thank you so much. And we hope you break the stigma.